Welcome to the next episode of the GSD Golf Podcast. I'm your host, AT, and it's always exciting to get on here, talk about the game of golf, talk about ways that we can get just a little bit better, ways that we can help our junior golfers get a little bit better at this game we all love and appreciate. Yes, I have on my Masters swag. No, I was not at the Masters this year, but I did have the opportunity and the privilege to go last year. But this year's Masters, instant classic. Rory McIlroy, it comes down to a putt at the end twice, once in regulation, once in overtime. He missed the one in regulation to push it to overtime with Justin Rose, and then Rory closes it out to win not only the green jacket, but the career Grand Slam, so cool, so cool, so cool. But the next episode of the GSD Golf Podcast is here. We are excited to jump right into it. We're excited to talk to our junior golfers and the parents of our junior golfers about ways that you can get shit done on the golf course, ways that you can GSD when it comes to making yourself a little bit more marketable and recruitable when it comes to looking at the next level of college, of golf at the college ranks. A lot of our junior golfers, a lot of our listeners and the parents have junior golfers and student athletes that are in the high school world right now, and they're thinking about what that next stage looks like for their golf career, and to talk about what comes next and how or what junior golfers and their parents should be thinking about as they start looking at the next level. We have a very special guest. We have Rick Dowling from the Junior Golf Hub, and the Junior Golf Hub is the place to go to create profiles, track your scores, see where your junior golfers rank compared to their peers, whether it's in the state that they live in, or their graduating class from high school, or if you want to see how your junior golfer stacks up nationally. It's a great resource, a lot of stuff, a lot of information in one spot. So please welcome to the GSD Golf Podcast, Rick Dowling to the show. Rick, welcome to the show.
Hey, AT, thanks for having me. I love the intro music.
Yeah, man, it takes me back. Every time I don't think we've had a guest on yet that doesn't like the intro music. And underneath the hat, I have a lot of gray hair, and the next episode just takes me back to happier times as a kid. So here we are.
Yeah, I was jamming
out. Love it. You got a lot going on. Your platform, the Junior Golf Hub, to me is the place to go. But I feel like there's a lot out there. A lot of our viewers, a lot of parents of junior golfers. When I walk the courses at the tournaments where my son's playing, talking to parents, they have no idea that there's a resource like the Junior Golf Hub out there. That's a place they should be going. Is that an accurate start to this conversation?
Yeah, for sure. I think that's the real mission of why we started the website. Honestly, we our team and our founding team has a lot of years of experience in helping players and families through the process, and we understand how simple of a game it is and how enjoyable it is. But in terms of like it being a thing, when you have a passionate younger player, how much depth there is to this process and how complicated and challenging it can feel. Yeah. So we definitely try to lean into that and help out in the key areas to kind of make it easier.
And I think golf, and unlike any other sport, we say this quite often, you look at some of the other sports, baseball, basketball, football, volleyball, lacrosse, there's usually that portion of a college coach can look across the field and see a 6'2", 240-pound junior in high school that's running a 4.40, and they can say, I can work with that. But in golf, it's very different. It comes down to the scores that you shoot and then the other intangibles. So, as we jump into this conversation, what should junior golfers really know about the recruiting journey?
Yeah, I think the most important parts, and you make a great point there about, college coaches have a variety of budget restrictions or lack of budget restrictions to travel out to see you play. They have to make educated decisions about how to use the limited amount of days that they have within the rules to go watch tournaments. So they usually pick bigger ones where they can see a variety of talent. And, not everyone can play in those events. So how do you tell your story without having some, face-to-face or live action opportunity to show off your stuff in front of a coach. So that really brings you to the point about, okay, how do you tell your story? You need a home base to kind of put all your information. You need an approach. You need knowledge about what to do and when, and then you need some tools to help you out. So I truly believe that every family can do it themselves, so long as they, give or take, start early enough or recognize that their player wants to do this and go to the next level. Do some research about what that entails, and leverage websites like ours to get a firm understanding about the timeline, key dates and gates, and then getting some help with finding great tournaments to play in, some marketing tools that can help you get exposure, and then some good pieces of advice on, okay, how do I start talking to coaches? What do I say? What's that kind of back and forth look like? What do I expect? How do I find programs that are going to be a good fit for who I am as a student athlete and what I want to get out of my college experience? Those are the bigger things that go into that process. And but like I said, I really believe that if you have enough time and you have a plan and some education and tools, you can do it yourself.
And you can do it yourself. But I think the good thing about the Junior Golf Hub is you kind of pulled this all into one centralized website, right? And you talked about telling your story, maybe outside of just some scores that the coach can't get to see you play. They see your scores, but they want to learn more. The Junior Golf Hub has the ability, or as parents and junior golfers, we have the ability to go to the Junior Golf Hub and build out our resume, build out our profile and what that looks like, headshots, grades, you name it, right? Is that what that's set up for?
Yeah, it's basically like a very junior golfer specific website builder. We know that, it really helps to have your information organized and at the ready, and then it evolves with you, something that can evolve with you, because you're not the same player you were 2 years ago, and you're going to be different 2 years from now too. And there's a lot of data and storytelling to be told along the way, right? There are some requirements that coaches need as soon as they can get them on players that they're interested in or making decisions about players. So yeah, we give you all the capabilities to very easily add that information. Our website builder is coach designed. We had an advisory board help us out, like, okay, what do we have to have in there? And we're optimizing it every day. We're making improvements as we get feedback from coaches in terms of the, how do I connect better with someone's profile, or even the information that's contained in it and how it's laid out. So yeah, but in terms of using it, it's super easy. And one of the key features is that it is designed to evolve with the player. From someone who starts when they're 8 versus 12, your whole story is going to be in there. You can put all the work that you've been doing with your coach, your tournaments history and results, key academic information, key recruiting information, like your clearinghouse number and all that kind of stuff. And there's privacy walls for just coaches to see that information versus everyone else. So it's great.
And if some of our junior golfers are out there and they haven't set up a profile yet, they haven't really dabbled in what the Junior Golf Hub has to offer, what's the website? Where can they go to check you all out to start that process?
Yeah, it's the juniorgolfhub.com. We do have our rankings, which has all the results and the metrics surrounding your results, which is a great starting point to be aware of that and understand how that works. But if you'd like to take that next step and have a website and your own profile attached to that for when coaches are looking for players, that's what I was just referring to. And that comes with our membership, which is $129 for the year.
All things considered, I think that's a reasonable investment for potentially the future of your junior golfer's career. The tournament side of things, you talked about that. If a parent, the parents and the junior golfer decide not to set up the pay portion of this, their scores, their data is still there and searchable, correct?
Yes. You just won't be able to kind of attach contact information, which is key, academics, and all the stuff we kind of mentioned to give more depth to your story, more insight, and a coach may be more likely to engage with you once they discover you. And there's also that transparency about who's looking at your profile, which coach is following you, and those kind of things that come with the membership. So just super capable and totally in your control once you have the membership. But the rankings itself is great too. And we designed it just to give more people an opportunity to be exposed, and have their story told at least at that level.
And is it just, so I think there may be some misperceptions out there that if you're not playing in one of these elite national tournaments, their scores are not going to make it to the Junior Golf Hub rankings and scoreboard. Accurate, not accurate, and how does that work out with scores making it there?
Yeah, we set out about a year ago. We're actually coming up on our anniversary in a couple of days. We noticed an opportunity to do it better on behalf of the athletes and the families and for the coaches, honestly.
Yep.
So we went for a more inclusive approach, covering more geography and then deeper down in the younger divisions or the shorter tournaments, not from necessarily including them in a ranking perspective at that lower level, but at least starting to lay the foundation for people's stories once they become more aware of the site or they add more data as they get older. So there's that kind of look back for coaches and themselves as to what they did. And for other players too, who come on and see a player who's grown from 12 to 18. What did they do when they were 12? So I think that story is super important. And I think that's the approach we went with that, our ranking system when we launched it a year ago.
And I have to assume and you said earlier that you had an advisory board and trying to make this platform user-friendly for coaches. I think telling the story, looking from a coach's perspective, they may be able to go in and see, to your point, there was an incremental increase or drop in the junior scores as they matured, as they got into their high school years. Maybe something changed. They got a swing coach. They had adjusted some of their mindset. I think that's probably a huge benefit to the college coach recruiting them.
Yeah, they're just looking for a time saver and a place that they can trust with good information. So we give a couple basic metrics on top of that, like, the average yardage you're playing, your differential, your top finishes, in addition to the results and where you're playing and field sizes and all that. But obviously those who have a profile have the opportunity to give more of a story about those things and what they're doing in addition to that. But yeah, they're really happy about it. And we continually ping them. We go to a conference every year in Vegas and we have sit downs with many of them about, okay, what do we need to do? What do you guys need about, from us in terms of getting a good window into the junior community internationally as well. So that's one of the big things we're working on too.
As far as the player profile, the online resume, that's a link that as kids get into the high school years and they start reaching out to college coaches, that's a profile link they can share and then becomes visible to the coaches that they share?
Yes, correct. So if you're a member, you have basically this feature we call the share profile. Mm-hmm. You have full control over who you send your profile to and how. So I usually suggest members put it in the footer of their communication. They're using emails, even social media if they're comfortable. But yeah, you're in total control. And the good news is no matter who clicks on that link or who receives it, it's always going to be the most up-to-date version of your profile at that moment. So yeah, it's a good marketing tool that we try to provide in addition to having the website builder.
It makes life so much easier rather than, right? I think you put everything in one spot. It's easy to share. It's easy for the end user to take a look at. This feels a little bit like a golf social media profile type of thing where you create this for your junior golfers. I have to assume that you've seen some mistakes that maybe the juniors have made or not made in creating their profiles. What's some of the biggest mistakes that maybe parents and juniors should stay away from?
Yeah, if you're going to use the profile, I would say get in the habit of checking in and updating it bi-weekly at least, or when things are happening. I think one of the things that I see we encourage a lot of users to make sure and map out their upcoming tournament schedule, which is easier said than done. But I think getting in the habit of doing that gives coaches an idea of, okay, what can I expect coming down the pike in terms of results, where you're going to be? Maybe I come out and visit. And then just making sure everything's complete. There's a lot of depth to the profile and the expectations that the coach needs that information. So just try to go in and thoroughly fill it out. If you're too young, you can leave it blank for now. Obviously, things don't apply like standardized testing and stuff like that. Yeah. But yeah, I think just get in the habit of doing, checking in with the Junior Golf Hub and your account every week or so is a good thing to have.
And again, a couple more questions for you before we let you go. We know your time is really important. Juniors that are at home, parents that are like, I've never heard of the Junior Golf Hub. I think we need to sign up. We need to get an account. Where can they go to register with the Junior Golf Hub?
Yeah, just come to our website, juniorgolfhub.com. Very easy to get your membership started. And then there's a tutorial once you start your membership. It'll walk you through all the areas of our website. I did touch on the profile, the website builder a lot, but we also have a pretty extensive college database that's golf specific. So it's all the varsity programs at all the various levels, and all their scoring information, their coach contact information, and all their admissions requirements. So it really gives you a good opportunity to see where you fit in this landscape of programs. It's a big landscape, and it's really important to be precise about where you fit in at any given time.
Yeah,
as you evolve as a player.
I think it's really interesting. We went to a college golf camp. I shouldn't say my junior golfer went and played. We dropped him off, picked him up at the end of the weekend. But it was really interesting because during the parents' question and answer session, there was a college coach that was talking and said, if you want to play college golf, the amount of schools that have college programs for you, there is a place that you can find to go play. And the Junior Golf Hub, what I have found is that, to your point, you can search a school by highest and lowest scores of the first player and the fifth player. You can search schools by tuition, by attendance, by geography, by conferences that they're in. You can narrow down your search to find the right school that fits you. I think the Junior Golf Hub does it right. And I also really enjoy, my junior and actually the family, we enjoy looking at the ranking systems. Like, it's pretty cool when you play in a tournament and then you go see where do you fluctuate within that ranking system. One of the questions I have for you is, can you talk to the viewers at home about the Junior Golf Hub ranking system and the data that goes into that? And how does that populate where a junior golfer sits?
Yeah, so it really involves us having relationships and a wherewithal about, okay, what tournaments are we covering this year? And right at this moment, we have plans to cover 7,500 events in the States, Canada, and internationally. And
how is that possible?
It's just about knowing where to look when they take place, and having relationships with those organizations that run those events. And honestly, we're probably not at full capacity in terms of what's out there, but we constantly try to talk to people and understand where they're playing. And it's great to have a community of players currently and families that engage with us. And if we don't have our eyes on an event, or we need to reach out and create a relationship with an organization, they help us do that. Because I think everyone's starting to understand what we're trying to accomplish. So, but in terms of how the rankings work, it's a combination of a few things. Where you're playing, who you're playing against, how your finish in each event, the yardages, your scores, your differential, those kind of things. But one thing unique that we do with the rankings, and it goes back to our mission with creating it, is we give credit for participation. So it's really difficult to move down if you're going to play and continue to play. And we wanted to make sure we promoted that, because one of I think the biggest things that was a little bit of a stigma, or currently is the people try to game the rankings, or the rankings overpower kind of the journey of being a junior golfer for some people who are, talented at a younger age, and it becomes a serious part of the journey.
Sure.
And it's okay. It is a part of it, and it's something to be aware of and understand how they work. And because you can level up into really cool events if you pay attention to it. But I think putting it ahead of your own development as a player, competing wherever you can, getting good coaching, focusing on those things is really important too, and arguably more important. So we wanted to make sure that we tried to thwart that, down, where don't be afraid to go play if it's your local event. There's an opportunity there to learn. Maybe you expect to win, or maybe you expect to shoot 68 on your home course, and that's okay. That's a learning opportunity. Can you do it? You shouldn't be fearful of being penalized because relative to other events, yeah, maybe it's not as strong, but for you as a player, it's worth a lot. So it's a tricky double-edged sword, and it's kind of a necessary evil, given that, rankings are helpful to coaches, and we try to create a community around these results and players, but we're trying to do it the right way.
I think there's something to be said about getting out and competing, especially in the game of golf, because it is such a hard sport.
Yeah.
And so anytime you get a chance to go compete against your peers, whether it's a local PGA junior event or a national Hurricane Junior Golf Tour or AJGA event, or others, I think anytime you get to do that, it's really an opportunity to go to your point, put your skills to test. We talked a little bit about some of the things that maybe parents and juniors shouldn't do when it comes to building their profiles. What are some things that maybe they should do? One of the things that I've heard are that, I've heard some parents say they've got to get video footage of their juniors in a tournament to place on their profile. Is that essentially important, or are there other things that are really more important?
Relative to the profile, I think as much context information you can supply about who you are as a player right now and where you're coming from is key. So I think footage on the course, is so long as it's not too lengthy and not too blurry, or on the range with your coach, or in the bay when you're doing some instruction, some TrackMan combines or the like, some reports from with data on it. Something like the PDI, the Player Development Index,
yep,
which is offered through the Notah Begay Junior Golf National Championship, and offered through PDI itself. That's a great thing to share with a coach, and it's actually something that colleges are doing. So they have some understanding of how important that could be and how much of a potential predictor it is. Try to give as much context clues as you can, but know that you're working with a short window of time when they're looking at your information. So quality is great. It doesn't have to be more than 30 seconds, to be honest with you. But again, if they can see your swing and they can't see you in person, that's a bonus, right? Our media library on your website builder is certainly capable of helping you with that. But in terms of, I think, stepping aside from the profile and the website, just some suggestions or mistakes, I guess if you can call them. And I've had conversations with coaches about this, is that if a parent is over involved in the journey with the player, that can be a little detrimental to recruiting and the relationship that could be fostered with the coach. It's something as simple as taking the clubs out of the trunk and putting them on a push cart for the player, something like that. And again, these are just stories of being around coaches.
We've seen it, my friend. We've literally seen, we've been on the course and we've seen parents pulling off the crust of a peanut butter and jelly sandwich for their junior golfer as they're walking. We've seen it all. And
there's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with it.
It's just it leaks what it leaks into sometimes. And what I'd encourage juniors who are listening to take ownership, and parents to encourage or promote ownership to the junior as they can handle it when they get older, right? So I use the story about it's a hypothetical situation where you step into an elevator with a coach in a hotel, like he happens to be there, or she, and you introduce yourself, or they introduce themselves to you, and they say, hey, who are you? Like, are you playing the event? What's coming up next? And if, like, a lot of players sometimes don't know their own schedule. They don't really know how to talk about what they're doing themselves, which is, it's a part of growing and maturing, but again, promoting that, and for players to understand that I want to be able to have a response in that situation entails kind of ownership of that process, and, knowing what kind of college program you want to look at and why, knowing what tournaments you're playing, knowing what you're working on with your coach and why, knowing what your plan is for this event and why. So just trying to surround yourself with people that are going to help you do that. And for parents, trying to, hold the hand, but not too much.
And your platform offers those juniors the opportunity to talk directly to the potential college coaches. have you seen, heard, or experienced where, maybe the parent is too involved? We talk at the house that to both of our boys, our youngest son wants nothing to do with golf. He likes baseball. He doesn't, but you have to want what your goals are more than mom and dad do. Right. So are there experiences that, maybe, not to say red flags, but maybe we can help parents know that let the kids drive this outreach?
Yeah, I think it's just the lens at which you use the tools available on our website. So like the research process is really easy to do, as you mentioned on our site with, okay, here are the college programs and here are what their characteristics are. Having the discussion as a family about how to think about what I want as a player when I'm 15, 16 is not easy. I don't know what I want, but what are some things we can do to help me? I can go on a visit when I'm at a tournament that's a local school. I can start to learn what I like and don't like about campuses or locations. But you start to tick off these boxes about what my ideal program looks like, and that will certainly help your research as a player. So little things like that. And I think you mentioned the communication, that's tough, but I think I've seen kids get a lot of paralysis by not being able to handle like a lack of response or what to say, or is it too much or not enough? And honestly, it's like what you should come back to is just be patient and proactive and positive, right? You have to respond. You have to over communicate, even if you're not getting responses. I think I see a lot of players go into a little bit of shyness when they maybe don't get the expected response they wanted, or they're not hearing from coaches, instead of treating it more like their own business and going after what they want. But it's hard to know how to do that. I think
the recruiting
player.
process is a marathon, not a sprint to that point. Right. And so everything that we have learned is about starting that process. Right. And some people that you speak with say it's never too early, but it can get to be too late. So starting that process, and to your point, being persistent. I want to pivot to, the one of the other tools on the Junior Golf Hub that is really, I think, probably not talked about enough, because people get associated with tournaments that they play in and their comfort zone with those that are hosting those tournaments. Your website offers the opportunity to find tournaments pretty much across the country. Is that accurate?
Yeah. So everything that's going to be included in our ranking system, our plan throughout the year, will be available in the tournament finder, which is another, we know like that tournament selection can be really difficult for those starting in the community. And it even gets more complicated once you're in it. You see what other families are doing. You see what other players are doing, geography, budget, level of difficulty or like prestige of the events that you're trying to get into, memberships at various tours. So it's a lot to juggle. And again, I see a lot of paralysis through analysis of like, okay, all these factors at stake, and here's what this other, my friend is doing. And here's what it's a lot. So we try to give you at least a centralized place to look at all of that, instead of opening all these tabs and juggling personal calendars and all that. You can, use the calendar on our site just to centralize possible events that you can register for, their deadlines, what their characteristics are, like, past results, going in to register for them themselves, what kind of player plays in these, the entry fees, where they are, and all that kind of stuff. So we're trying to definitely step in and help at least make that process a little easier, because we know it's very, I think, pressure packed.
Yeah, the whole process of the golfing world, the junior golfing world, is, I guess maybe because I think most of us as parents, there's a lot of parents that were involved in the sport before they had a junior golfer that's playing golf. But for those of us that didn't, as we settle in and our junior golfer begins to play, to your point, we see this person's playing in this tournament. We see this person's playing at this golf club. We see this equipment. We see this resume that they have to create. There's a lot of stuff out there that we're trying to wrap our heads around, and where do we go as parents to help our juniors, our student athletes, be as successful as possible. Rick, before we let you go, again, we're on with Rick Dowling, general manager of the Junior Golf Hub. If you're interested in signing up, creating a resume, visit thejuniorgolfhub.com. Sign up. You can create a player resume for your junior golfer. You can reach out to college coaches. You can research colleges across the country. You can visit NAIA junior colleges all the way through University of North Carolina and all the big time Division I schools. It's a tremendous resource. But Rick, before we let you go, if you had to give the family sitting at home that's on the fence about how to get involved with a profile or the platform that you all have, what's one piece of advice you would give them?
Yeah, I think it's my one piece of advice is try to enjoy the process. And it's another way of thinking about why we started the Junior Golf Hub. It'll be more enjoyable, easier to enjoy if it's a little easier and you're getting good information. You feel comfortable, you feel prepared, but really try to enjoy this process because as a player, you're never going to get the opportunity to go through this process again.
That's true.
College can be a really cool opportunity for a lot of student athletes out there. And you really want to kind of put yourself in the right situation for your future, whether that's on the PGA Tour or playing professionally or having a career that you enjoy. So just try to enjoy the process. And that's why we're here, to make it more enjoyable and help you make better decisions, or at least prepare you to make better decisions if you have a high school player looking to make that jump to college golf.
Rick Dowling, the Junior Golf Hub, thank you for joining the GSD Golf Podcast. We really appreciate your time.
Likewise. Thanks, AT.
Rick Dowling from the Junior Golf Hub. It was such a great platform. You can go in, you can look at all your data, you can create a player profile. I got to tell you, we use that app because there is an app that goes along with it. The app, the website, it's so user friendly. You can go in and look at all of the schools, the scores that fit your player's profile, and you can start to narrow in where you might fit in the collegiate landscape of things if your junior golfer so chooses to want to try to play college athletics or college golf. So highly recommend the Junior Golf Hub. Visit juniorgolfhub.com. Get yourself an online profile there, get set up, start doing some research, figure out what's the right school, what's the right path for your junior golfer, your young student athlete, and make the best of it. As always, here at the GSD Golf Podcast, we're trying to bring a little bit of information to you time and time again during these conversations that can help you and your junior golfer just get a little bit better at this game of golf, the game that we all love, get a little bit more shit done on the course, and make 2025 the best golf season ever. Let's go.